Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Alyssa, and I'm a minister finishing up my chaplaincy for Assemblies of God. Such an exciting and amazing denomination with a rich history and past. And it's actually that amazing history that I'm going to be talking to you guys about today. Now, oftentimes when we talk about the beginning of the Pentecostal movement and the beginning of Assemblies of God, we reference Azusa Street, which is honestly an amazing place to start. But before we jump into Azusa Street, let's go back a few hundred years. Now, historically speaking, there wasn't a lot of support and encouragement of the Holy Spirit's gifts during the Renaissance, medieval times, going into the Tudor and Edwardian era. While we see throughout Europe an uprising of Protestantism, there is still a lot of tumultuousness between the Catholic Church and the rising Protestants. Then, in 1703, we have the birth of John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, and he introduced a different aspect of Protestantism, which was the awareness of the Holy Spirit and how the Holy Spirit operates in all aspects of our human experience. He was really encouraged and was very, very tolerant towards his followers who were showing different gifts of the Holy Spirit, no matter how intense. Towards the end of the 1700s into the early 1800s, we have Seraphim of Sarov, a Russian Orthodox charismatic leader who claimed that the goal of Christian life is the reception of the Holy Spirit. He himself was blessed with the gift of healing. Moving into the 1800s, further in, we see that a London Missionary Society in 1824, Pastor Edward Irving, he was proposing the return to a more apostolic pattern, boldly claiming that missionaries need to follow the model given by Jesus. In 1830, we have the West of Scotland revival, which centered around a number of different spiritual gifts and Pentecostal phenomenon. And then South Indian Christians in the 1860s and 1870s started experiencing this as well. In fact, Johannes Warneck kept a record in the 1860s that detailed the introduction of a Pentecostal phenomenon where Christians within the community were getting dreams, visions, and even multiple instances where missionaries were given poison by enemies, yet they remained healthy. As the time goes on, we see more and more theologians stepping up to argue for the necessity of miracles. Spreading around the world by the end of the 19th century, approximately 900,000 African Christians had been experiencing Pentecostal-like phenomena. Which brings us to Charles Parham, the Midwesterner holiness preacher, who, after looking through the writings of those African missionaries and witnessing himself the speaking of tongues in Shiloh, Maine, where he becomes convinced that the speaking of tongues is a pivotal evidence of being baptized in the Holy Spirit, which in turn is the key to world evangelism. Charles Parham creates the link between tongues and spiritual baptism that becomes the doctrinal hallmark of classical Pentecostalism. We can see that Charles Parham, with his students in the Bethel Bible School in Topeka, where he has his students praying and praying for the outpour of the Holy Spirit onto them. And it is there in 1905 that William Seymour listens to this message, accepts Charles Parham's Pentecostal message, and under William Seymour's leadership, we have the incredible and historical Azusa Street Revival from 1906 to 1913 in LA, becoming the first remarkable outburst of Pentecostal fervor in America. Azusa Street was unique in the fact that it was not set up as a traditional church. It had services going through the night and prayer sessions going on for hours into days. Sermons were not written at Azusa Street. It was the Holy Spirit guiding and leading whatever the Lord was placing upon the speaker's heart. in that moment, which is something I personally wish I could have experienced and seen. Thank you all so much for joining me today and listening about this amazing history of this beautiful denomination. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you.